Um, Hi everyone. So we are gathered here with Philly Teen Vax. We are here with joined by Dr. Barbara Clock and Ms. Angely, talking about how the organization got started and all the fun endeavor it has in order to bring light, information, and community resources to the people who need to hear it. So I want to go ahead and just dive right in. We have I want to get pass off to Dr. Clock. If you can start talking about how did the organization get started?
Absolutely. What happened just a very short time ago in mid-April? Um, Myself at the School District of Philadelphia knew that there were going to be about 9,000 students in Philadelphia graduating in person. And how could we assist in that? How, in terms of it not being a super spreader for COVID. And again, even since mid-April, things have changed so much, as we know, with this pandemic, that recommendations and everything change along the way. So, but let's back up to mid-April. And so myself and two colleagues of mine, Diana Coleman and Sophia Collins, decided, hey, what if we started to promote vaccinations for the teens? And then we thought, well, what would assist teens in becoming vaccinated? And the answer was, let's ask the teens. And so then I put out an email or we put out an email under uh, my direction to the School District of Philadelphia on a Friday afternoon, right, Angely, on a Friday afternoon, and saying, come to a meeting, an organizational meeting on Monday, which was April 26th. And I thought we might get 5 responses, especially email, which isn't really the mode of communication for most 11th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, over a weekend. And so by Monday, we had 100 students in Philadelphia, whether in the school district or around, non-school district, but Philadelphia teens, which is what makes it important, respond. And we had an incredible intensive week of training, which Angela can speak to. And we looked to the teens to really say, how do we get the message out? We can educate you about the vaccine, about COVID, and about the myths. But we're asking you, how do we then get the message out to your peers? And there are only 3 adults involved, and they call us the boomers. But there were now about 35 really active students. And so we just guide them. And that's how it started. And because we were so grassroots and doing it for the right reasons, with a group of students who also just wanted to get the word out and be together, I think that's been the recipe for success. We had no idea that this would become what it is. We thought, we worked with the PDPH to do 3 events with the PDPH for vaccines. They gave us spots that we could make them teen friendly, and 1 with Black Doctors COVID Consortium. And we thought that was going to be it, but it has blossomed. So that's how it started.
Wow, that's fantastic. Angela, I would love to hear from your perspective of when you were reached out and what were the thoughts that went into your head and how did the ball kept rolling, especially from a student's perspective?
So I got the email. I was just looking at emails, then I saw this email. I started reading it and it was very different from other emails I've read. And also what I loved about it was how there was like already a schedule laid out and events already planned and basically what you were going to do if you got involved. So once I was interested, I went to the meeting the next day, which was a Monday, and then it was 3 hours long. It was like it was very long, but I just loved how everything was broken down. And then there was many people, like other students across from other schools. I was just like, wow, like people are actually interested in this. And I was interested in this email because me and my family, we got COVID. And I was just like, this would be a very good opportunity for me to learn and what happened and actually break down into detail what happened with my body, as well as going forward, just help spread the word about it, teach other students and then other people who refuse to get vaccinated why it is important to get vaccinated. and just bring out like why this is good for our community and for Philadelphia in general.
What I love about that moment, what you're describing, is the fact that you saw the opportunity, it was laid out, but you had to make the internal decision of accepting the responsibility that I will advocate and I will speak for my community in gathering the resources. So really want to congratulate you on that. That's a really bold thing to do. And it's someone like Dr. Clark who set it out, push it out, and see who bites. So during the journey, can you talk about some of the high moments that you've experienced?
Some of the high moments I've experienced was the people I've met. I felt like through these events that we made, the best thing that happened was the people. It's just you get to connect with people all over, you meet them, and you really bond with them, especially through Philly Teen Vaxx. Like everything just goes well, especially with the right people guiding you and helping you along the way. And I just felt like that's the best gift in life, just meeting good people.
How about you, Dr. Clark? Were there any high moments that you've experienced during this journey?
So what is it's been an incredible journey, and the perseverance of the students, the consistent perseverance has been amazing, because again, we had these dates for the events that started in May. We got together April 26th. So we had 2 weeks to do everything. And the meeting that Angely is talking about is we needed to educate the students to make sure they're having the proper information to pass on. So we partnered with Philly Counts, and they generously used their slides, let us use their slides for their education. I have my own slides because of being the medical officer for the school district. I sort of teamed them up a little bit, meaning TEEN, made them, accessible. And that's where it started. So just knowing that these students stayed on that 2-hour and 40-minute call, that was the Tuesday, and then that we broke up into groups. And the first group is about infographics and print material. The second group is the TikToks and social media. And the third group was planning the events. But just for me, the entire high theme across the entire thing is yes and, right? So just like an improv comedy or something is yes, and what else can we do? Or how are we going to go about this? There was never a yeah, but we can't do this because of the following. And because we were so grassroots, we just kept going along, right, Angely? And they'd be like, okay, by Thursday, we need the logo. I know I'm talking a lot. We've all become a family so fast. And that's what Angely keeps speaking to. These are students from all the way up on the border of Bucks County, the far, far Northeast, all the way down to South Philly. And the reason I know this, you know why I know this, Angely, because what did I drive all around to people's houses so they could distribute them?
Flyers.
So people said I will flyer, and so I spent 4 hours one day driving to people's houses, which was a real picture, literal picture of where everybody lived. But I will tell you, the most amazing moment for me was the following. Was early on. It is now Thursday, day 4 of this project, and we needed a logo before we could go any further. And Angely's in the group, and so I don't know these students more than being on Zoom. They don't know each other. And I said, okay, we need a logo. Let's start thinking about things you would want. And so people started brainstorming. This is like 16 students who don't know each other. Band-Aids. Okay, yeah, Band-Aids. Band-Aids is good. The skyline. We already knew it was going to be Philly Teen Vaxx. We figured that out the day before. 3 people, including Angely, put up 3 different logos. One was one Band-Aid with Philly Teen Vaxx on the bottom. One was crisscross Band-Aids with the skyline really big behind it. And then one, and sort of grabbing the skyline from, just print on the internet. And then Angely drew one. And everyone was amazed. Like there was silence when we saw this quick sketch. And the moment for me was the final, which you may have seen, our final logo is crisscross Band-Aids. One was, the Skyline logo sketched in between and Philly Teen Vaxx underneath. And I learned in that moment that we as the adults, we as the boomers, because they call anybody boomers who's not, we as the boomers really can learn a lot by the ability in that meeting. Angela, you've never heard me say this, to listen to each other, to support each other, to say in a kind way, yeah, well, maybe we should use the crisscross. I'll never forget that, actually. And I felt like over this year, the students have really learned how to collaborate on Zoom and give each other room. And Angely, if you remember from that, the thing we couldn't figure out for a while was whether or not to have, I forgot all about this now, the little holes in the Band-Aid. Like there's little, when you have a Band-Aid, and whether or not to have those dots. And that was really the only thing that we really had to take time. And is that too complicated? Does that take away? And that was really a highlight in terms of the humanity of our students in Philadelphia. So I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. I want to pass on to Alyssa if she has any questions.
Yeah, thank you both so much for sharing that story. It's really fantastic, and I think you both have seen, it's really just amazing. You have such a special group, a special team that is able to do like these amazing things and be unified together. And I think we've seen that the pandemic can be definitely a very dividing time, but as you both have seen in Philly Teen Vaxx, it can also be incredibly unifying. So from that perspective, going forward, based on your experiences, how can we ensure that we use the pandemic as a unifying time and not a dividing time? And what have like your experiences been and the lessons that you have learned? How do you think that with those experiences we can move forward?
Angely, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, for unifying, I'd say for teens, really, it's more about social interaction. And if we're talking about unifying and getting vaccinated, through these events that we do, I think they really bring us together, especially being in an environment full of teens where it's safe, you're able to talk to one another, do activities, and just chill. And being in a room just with seeing others your age, I think that creates such a comforting and presenting environment for a teen to want to go into.
Yes, and what we would do in terms of our meetings that were all, again, until our first event, we didn't see each other in person, was sort of, do the typical breakout room. Okay, people doing flyers. These are the dates. Go up to Canva, whatever you want to. We need these logos. And really, it was just the baseline. It's all you. We need these logos. These are the dates. These are the, what you need to have on it, and go for it. And I think maybe, Angely, us completely trusting that you have the ability to do that. And then with our guidance, I think going forward though, the really important thing I think these students will take with them is that we live in a big city. You can come together for a common purpose, which I think you were getting to, Angely. The common purpose was learning about this and being able to help our city and our city's health and getting back to the things we love. That's one of the themes. And we're different, but we're not. And we all know that, but even within the city, and that you don't need to be a rival with another school, that we're all want to be the best that we can be. So we have, Cambodian students, we have Vietnamese students, Chinese students, Caucasian students, Black students, and they're all coming together from different parts of the city. Angely, is there something that but being with all the students from all over the city that counteracted a myth maybe you even have about other students in the city, because what we've worked on is counteracting the myths of COVID. Is there some assumption about, oh, those kids from the Northeast or whatever, that or I'm just, you know, you can think about it for a minute.
Not really, but I remember Wendy, she she had a lot of myths, and I felt like it's because of really what one person hears or sees, they think of it and then they have it in the back of their mind. Meanwhile, you have another student who sees something different um, from what another student hears, and then really you just come together and debunk it together, just coming together and getting down to it.
So beautiful. Okay. Uh, so we touched on the high points. May you tell us any of the challenges that you had to face, both with community or administrative side, etc.?
Angela, you're on mute. Are you talking?
Oh, um, community wise, I don't know, but I'd say like family wise, yes. Can I talk about that? Okay. So with the vaccine, at first, my cousin and my brother, they were skeptical of it because they were more on why would I get it? The vaccine, it was produced so quick. I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know what's in it. I don't know what it's going to do with me. Like, I just don't want to get it. I don't want to go. And so me and my family, we already made vaccine appointments. And leading up to the day, they didn't really want to get it. But then I was, I just like, it was hard for me because I didn't know much. So I had to do my little research and was just like, I was just trying to find my research and was just like, yeah, it may be produced quick, but they wouldn't give anything to anyone that's not safe, and then use like what was in it. And I told them, and then also I brought up how we caught it. So it's really for us to get better and just make sure that we don't get it again. And yeah, that was pretty hard, but once I got with Philly Teen Vaxx, I felt like that really helped me more because I was able to inform more and be able to provide more factual things that I know is true. So that really helped me a lot.
So what are some of the things you learned at that 2 hour and 20 minute education session, do you think, that helped you feel confident in your, you know, this backup of the science, or is there anything that comes to mind?
Um, just yeah, like what was in it and then how it affected communities, but then also it helped communities, herd immunity. And I just felt like that was useful information for me because I was able to tell others and they would be able to spread that around, which was true because it's factual. Like I got this somewhere from a true source, and that's really helped me.
That is what majority of our community or folks will say, like, is definitely was delivered fast, definitely was. And we went through a whole chapter of not trusting news anymore, and everything was so back and forth. We have to bring back the power to our research, and the fact that you did it too. You know, the fact that you took upon yourself to look into those research, to back up on your points, and ensuring, comforting your family members that this is for the future, this is for the greater good, and we can't stay stuck into the skepticism. We have to really give it a try and trust our medicine. So a huge applause for you again. Again, it just means a lot seeing you as a Cambodian young woman speaking out on this. It's like me watching Moana all over again. So let me just say that. Dr. Clark, any challenges you remember going through?
So for me, the myths, you know, and addressing the myths and educating the students to address the myths is somewhat of a challenge, but it's one that is attainable or workable, except for one myth that's the most difficult. So for example, the analogy I use for when people say, oh, it happened too fast, is the wedding analogy. So what I say is, when you decide to get married, you can get married in a month, or you can take 2 years to plan a wedding, and all the same ingredients are needed. You need the person you're going to marry. You want that cake. You need the, the place to get married, the festivities, your dress, whatever you're going to wear. There are all those ingredients. You can make that happen in a month, or you can take 2 years. But all the ingredients are there and in a specific order. So that's what I use as the analogy for it's sped up, but nothing was missed. So that's how I use that. The myths about, that it affects your DNA, that was a myth that we talked through, and a lot of our students understand what's in a cell. And so the mRNA vaccine never goes near the nucleus of your cell, never goes near your DNA. And one of the funny moments was I said, I have these pictures, and so Angely's nodding her head, where I show, the endoplasmic reticulum where the vaccine is replicated. And someone in repeating it said, oh yeah, well, when it goes over onto the ER, and that's endoplasmic reticulum, but they knew enough just even. I said, okay, guys, like you're even using the initials. That was, how much background knowledge our students have. The one that is the hardest, and this was another memory, was with Carmen Saki, Angely. We were role playing the first week. Okay, 2 people are going to role play. You're the person who's the ambassador. You're the person who's asking questions, and then we flipped. Typical way to get used to. And a student who's from the Northeast and from Haiti. No, when I say she's from Liberia, actually, she's from Liberia. Pushed the envelope, even though she's vaccinated, her family's vaccinated, but she really challenged the why should we trust science? The population has been using experiments in the past, et cetera, et cetera. And I will tell you, that's the most challenging one to debunk, because it's not even debunking, because it's fact. But you have to then extrapolate from that to say why this is different. And especially, to be frank, for me as a white woman, a white person, to say this is but this is different, to hear that from me, I really have to have a lot behind that. And to say what we don't want to happen, we don't want that to happen again, right? We actually want you to be equipped and healthy and have access to everything. And so that's the trickiest one for me personally to address. The other ones are based on science. I can do that night and day.
Sorry, I can go next. Thank you both so much for sharing. Yeah, definitely combating myths is definitely hard, and something that I think both Jenna and I have had to learn to do a lot as well. I think everyone who has been getting vaccinated has had to kind of had to have a reason for their vaccination and backing up that decision. Kind of on the opposite side of that, what are the main reasons you're seeing that teenagers want to get vaccinated? What's like the driving force behind that? Angely, I guess more catered towards you as like being a peer. What are the reasons that you're seeing that your peers want to get vaccinated?
More of teenagers want to get vaccinated because they want everything to go back to normal. So like before, it's just like, I want to hang out with my friends, and I won't be able to do that again until I get vaccinated, which is, I think, a drive for them, because it's like, oh, my friend won't hang out with me until I get vaccinated. Maybe I should get vaccinated. Not only can I hang out with my friend, but I'm also protecting me, my family. And then I feel like a big drive is to protect their family as well, especially being young and not being like one that's the biggest impact if they get COVID. It's like, I'm helping my family. This is what I need to do, which was a drive for me to help my family. So I think just wanting everything to go back to normal, and then especially when school comes around, when we're back in the building, there's gonna be other students around you. So wanting to go to school and just wanting everything to just go back to normal.
How about you, Dr. Clark? Do you have anything to add to that as well? What you've been noticing within teenagers?
What I like about our set of teenagers too is that they can see both sides of it, and this experience has given the teenagers um, a first look at individual health and public health, right? So what Angela's saying is, I'm doing this for me, and by me getting this, I'm protecting my grandmother or somebody else in my family. So that's, you know, in the individual health. However, I do think, and Angela, you can comment on this, the students that we're working with really do understand how it's really helping the community of Philadelphia get back to normal. So it is a yes and again, right? It's my individual family as well as our community, our schools, and having the students literally at vaccination events, talking to people in line, even if it's down to when do I come, what vaccine is this, when do I come back, to do you have any questions or last minute fears, and talking to people on the street about come talk to this. I think that is the public health education. And so, you know, teens are notorious for, you know, being egocentric. I keep doing this, right? It's about me, what about me? But these particular teens are undeniably able to think about the public health side too. What do you think about that, Angeli?
Yeah, I agree. Especially like us ambassadors just being out there. Think it drives teens to actually want to come in and get vaccinated. They're like, oh, they're just seeing it as like, oh, they got vaccinated. Maybe I should get vaccinated as well. And especially seeing other teens, it's like a trustable thing. Cause when you want to be able to trust someone, and it's just like when they're seeing a teen, they're just like, he wouldn't have done that if it wasn't safe. He or she, they wouldn't have done that if it wasn't safe. So maybe I should get it.
Let me just say this is such a wonderful experience, just taking this all in. And I do want to just really acknowledge how much work you both put into this. So here's one of the last few questions as we wrap things up. I really appreciate you for your time. Schools are opening up, and now we're getting ready for in-person learning. How can we prepare for the transition?
So there's many ways to prepare for the transition, right? Both, again, the physical space, the physical health, as well as the mental health. So in terms of transitioning, in terms of physical health, in Philadelphia, it appears that, you know, for the school district of Philadelphia, Dr. Haidt had announced that students will be wearing masks in September, because you can't take everything away all at the same time. Most likely the social distancing parameters will be less than they are now. So in terms of preparation for that, there's another, you know, I see this all as layers, right, from the beginning. So wash your hands, we know all this. Wash your hands, wear your mask, stay distance when appropriate. And I feel like the vaccine itself is the final layer to help us get back to normal. So if we can continue our mission with Angely and her ambassadors to continue to have people feel good about the vaccination and answer their questions with real facts, then we can even prepare even better for getting back to school, because people will be confident in what their neighbor did for their neighbor's self, as well as, you know, the community, what I did for myself in the community. Then the final piece will be supporting in terms of mental health, getting back to normal, what that involves. But if we can get our physical health in place, it will assist in that mental health piece.
How about you, Angelique? Do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Just going forward, I think that like, I'm not really sure right now. But basically everything Dr. Clock said, I agree with.
For sure. All right, Alyssa, do you have any last remaining questions?
I think thank you both so much for your time again. And this conversation has been so insightful, and it's been so great learning about how Philly Teen Vaxx came to be. It really is such an amazing story. So I guess my last question would be, do you both have any last comments that you would give to people, or Angely, like your peers that are still questioning if they want to get vaccinated? What would be your last comments or anything else that you have to say before we end our conversation here today?
For me, I would just say you need to get vaccinated if you really want things to get back to normal. You're helping not only yourself, your family, but also the community. This is one step forward into everything going back to normal. So this getting vaccinated would be a first step.
And I would like to say that for individual people to really think inside themselves, you know, like, where does the fear come from? And where does the trust reside? And finding the balance between that. So again, to if the trust resides in someone who's experience has the same experience as you, whether lifestyle or otherwise, you know, background, if the trust resides there, go there with your fear. So you go to those people with your fears, so that when they tell you about it, your fears are coming from where your trust resides. And finally, we are happy to come to events, help with outreach, help with flyers that speak to, you know, again, the individual, the fears through trust. And, you know, feel free to contact us about that at any point.
Awesome. That leads to my final question in knowing how can the community reach out to you? Where can we find you and follow you?
Take it away, Angely.
You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Philly Teen Vaxx on everything.
And how do you spell Vaxx when you're looking for us?
Vaxx is VAXX.
All right, awesome. Thank you both for your time and your amazing experience, research journey for this community effort. So thank you all so much. Thank you.